So whether you're a first-time writer or industry veteran, table reads provide valuable insights into a script's potential success. And writers regularly use them to fine-tune their stories, to sharpen their dialogue, and to make any other necessary adjustments before the camera rolls. A table read or read-through, like the one we're doing today for you, is simply an organized reading of a script in which the speaking parts, the stage directions, and the scene headings are all read to let us know where we are, who's in the scene, and what's happening. So let's meet our actors.
Hi, I'm Madeline Shaw. I'm reading for Mallory.
Hi, I'm Michael Paget, and I'm reading Hayden.
I'm Erica Strasberg, and I am reading... Oh. It says it's on. Oh, yeah. Hello? Good? Okay, I'm Erica Strasberg, and I'm reading Darcy.
I'm Peter Bisguer, and I'm reading Scott.
Seeing how hot this thing is, there we go. That seems all right. All right.
Are we ready? Can you hear me? Am I on?
You are on, sir. Scott is our narrator. Take us away, Scott.
All right, Mallory, written by Liz Chiodo. Exterior evening, restaurant. A couple walks out of a restaurant, laughing and happy. They enter their car and we see them drive off. Exterior evening, couple's house. The man and woman arrive home and unlock the door, clearly having had a good night. Once the door is open, the pair walk inside. The man, Hayden, walks to the kitchen and opens the refrigerator. He pulls out a bottle of blush wine and looks over his shoulder. The woman, Darcy, has taken a seat on the couch, and she is leaning forward to place her cell phone on the coffee table.
More wine?
Hayden holds the bottle up and Darcy smiles. She's in a flirty mood.
If you're offering...
Hayden pours them each a glass, caps the wine and replaces it, and brings the glasses to the living room. He hands his wife a glass and reaches for the television remote. Almost as soon as he turns it on, Darcy's phone rings. She puts her glass down and answers the call almost nonchalantly.
Hello?
There's silence as she listens to the caller, and her face grows puzzled and concerned. Hayden notices her tension and leans forward to put the remote back on the table.
Who is it?
A young woman is speaking.
Oh, come on, Mom. Don't pretend you don't remember who I am.
Darcy is silent. There is sheer terror on her face. Hayden, growing annoyed and a little angry, takes the phone from her hands.
This isn't funny. Leave us alone.
He ends the call and sets the phone down, not so gently. His wife seems to be frozen in place, utterly shocked.
I'm sorry, babe. I can't imagine what that woman was thinking. Maybe we should just call it a night.
Hayden.
Don't. It wasn't Mallory. You and I both know that.
Darcy lets out a long breath. She runs both hands through her hair, trying to calm herself.
I'm going to bed.
As she gets up and walks out of the room, Hayden's voice follows.
It wasn't her, Dee. Fuck.
Hayden puts his head in his hands. He begins to cry. Interior morning, next day, couple's house. Hayden and Darcy sit at the dining table. Their breakfast's in front of them. Hayden eats in silence. Darcy, her plate mostly full, just sits silently looking down. It's palpably awkward, and that's uncomfortable for Hayden.
You okay?
Darcy doesn't respond. She's staring down into her lap. He tries a little louder. She responds at the mention of her name.
Darce. You okay?
Now snapped out of it, Darcy leans back and reluctantly picks up her fork, poking at her eggs.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't let that call get to you. We'll be okay.
She puts her fork down and finally looks at him. Quietly, she speaks.
What if it was her?
How can you let some stranger mess with you like this, Deke? Mallory's dead. She's gone.
She's missing. Remember?
She's missing. Sorry.
Darcy gets up and throws away the rest of her breakfast, rinses the dishes, walks to her purse, and leaves the house. Hayden finishes his own breakfast in silence. He gets up to rinse his own dishes, and his phone, still on the table, begins to ring. He walks back, picks it up, and sees the call appears as private number. He rejects the call and pockets his phone. He walks to the front door, reaches to put on his jacket when his phone rings again. Pulling his phone from his pocket, we see the private number is calling again. He's a little hesitant, but Hayden answers. He puts the call on speakerphone, places it on the table, and puts it on his jacket.
Hello?
There's a young woman on the other end.
Hi, Daddy.
Hayden freezes, one arm in the jacket and the other halfway in. He says nothing. He slides the jacket all the way on and picks up the phone.
I'm ready to come home, Dad.
Hayden crosses the room and sits down.
Who is this?
It's Mallory. Your little Mal Mal. Daddy, it's me.
This isn't funny, you know. The last 10 years have been torture. It never gets easier. Please just leave us alone.
Hayden is fighting tears, his hand over his mouth.
Dad, it's really me.
How?
Meet me at Bingham Park tomorrow at 2:30.
I can't.
Hayden stops and looks at his phone, bewildered. The call ended mid-sentence. He shakes his head, pockets his phone, grabs his keys, and leaves. Interior afternoon, couple's house. Darcy walks into the bedroom after a long day at work to find Hayden laying in the dark on the far side of the bed, staring at the ceiling. She takes off her shoes and flips on the light. Then she walks into the room and sits down on the edge of the bed.
What are you doing here in the dark?
Hayden rolls over to face her. There's a pause. Something unsaid is lingering in the air between them, and the tension is palpable.
I think we have to go to the police.
Are you nuts?
I'm serious. She asked me to meet her at Bingham Park.
Damn it.
Darcy plops back onto the bed, laying next to her husband. She looks worn out and defeated. The room is still as Hayden shifts back onto his back as well, and the two stare at the ceiling for a moment, both lost in thought.
This is serious, isn't it?
I think so.
You can't go.
What?
You can't go to that park.
Hayden shifts his weight to his elbow. He's now facing Darcy again and has an incredulous look on his face.
You can't be serious.
Darcy's silent. Hayden presses.
What if it's her?
You know you sound insane, right?
Me? If that's Mallory, we need to figure out how much she remembers. What she wants, what she's doing here. What if she wants to come home?
Hayden, it's not Mallory. You were the one convincing me.
Hayden stands up and moves to leave the room. Darcy sits up quickly, standing her ground.
Don't go to that park, Hayden. And don't even think about going to the police. Okay, let's not open up old wounds. Just give me a little time, okay? We will handle it.
Hayden pauses. He's hurting too. The grief and the guilt doesn't just disappear, no matter how many years have passed. He turns and leaves the room. Darcy sighs and lays back on the bed. Exterior afternoon, evening. Hayden walks around his neighborhood, trying to decompress after the confrontation with Darcy. The block is calm, the perfect place to try and clear his head. He walks for a while, lost in thought. After some time, Hayden lifts his phone, selects a contact, Scott, and puts the phone to his ear.
Hello?
Hey, man.
Hayden, how are you, man?
Actually, there's something on my mind.
Hayden stops walking and takes a seat on the curb.
What's up?
Mallory called.
What?
Someone claiming to be Mallory. She asked me to meet her tomorrow.
Wait. Back up. Mallory? As in, your daughter, Mallory.
Yes?
There's silence on the other end of the line for a moment as Scott tries to process what Hayden's just said. Hayden isn't even sure what he believes.
Dude, you have to go to the police. That sounds like someone who wants something from you, or it could be some kind of identity theft. Either way, it can't be good.
Scott, what if it really is her?
I know it's tempting to think that, man, but Mallory is gone. Can't imagine what it's like to go through the death of your child, but I really don't think it's her. Maybe if the police can talk to this girl, they'll get some new leads.
Hayden slumps a little as he sits there, knowing Scott is right, but not wanting to admit that to Scott or to himself.
I'm sure rehashing all this is difficult. Just let me know what you need and I'll be there for you, whatever you decide.
Thanks, Scott. Keep this between us for now, okay? I think this was really upsetting for Darcy.
Hey, man, I get it. Stay safe. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I will. See ya.
Hayden ends the call and stands to walk back to the house. He's made his decision and doesn't care what anyone else says. There's no changing his mind. Interior morning, the next day, the couple's house. Hayden is sitting at the table, sipping coffee with a laptop in front of him. Darcy walks through with a tumbler in her bag. Hayden looks up as she passes. She doesn't look at Hayden as she speaks.
I have an early meeting, but I'll see you for dinner, though, okay? Hope you have a good day.
You too. Love you.
I love you too, babe. No plans this afternoon, right?
Nope. You're right. Not worth digging up any messes. Better to just move on. Let this thing blow over.
Knew you'd see reason after we slept on it. Chinese tonight?
Sounds great.
Satisfied, Darcy heads out the door and closes it behind her. Hayden's cell phone is laying face down beside the laptop. He picks it up and dials. He waits. After a moment, he leaves a message.
Hey, Annie, when you get in, please update my calendar for today. I won't be in the office. Let me know if there's anything you need. Thanks.
Hayden sets his phone back on the table and closes his laptop. He takes a sip of his coffee and puts the mug back down. Exterior, afternoon, park. Hayden anxiously paces back and forth on a section of a pathway in the park, hands in his pockets. He's jittery and doesn't know what to expect. Slows, checks his watch, hands back in his pockets. After a few more paces, he sits at a nearby bench, his leg bouncing. He checks his watch again, then sits back, arms crossed, trying to calm himself. A woman walks by and Hayden is still for a moment, hopeful and nervous, but she passes by without slowing. It appears no one will be joining him. Hayden checks his watch one more time and stands up, prepared to walk away and forget this whole thing. It's clear he's disappointed. He begins to walk away, but
Dad?
a young woman, Mallory, approaches from behind Hayden. He's surprised and turns to face her. The shock on his face is immediate, and then his face softens. There's no doubt this is his little girl, all grown up.
Mallory.
Hayden moves instinctively to hug his daughter, but she flinches and takes a small step back. Realizing he moved too fast, Hayden stops himself.
Sorry,
Don't. Why? Dad? Why did you do it?
I didn't.
I'm serious. Just tell me the truth. If you don't...
Mallory holds out her phone to show Hayden the screen. 911 is dialed on the phone pad, and Mallory's thumb is close to the call button. Ready.
Oh, okay. Let's sit.
He points to the bench, and Mallory sits first, almost hovering on the edge of the bench, ready to dart if need be. She looks around as Hayden takes a seat opposite her, looking her directly in the eyes.
Whew. I don't know where to begin.
Try at the beginning.
What do you remember?
Not much. Pain. Fear. The darkness. I need to know, Dad.
Hayden winces. Hearing the emotions his little girl went through that horrible night pains him. He doesn't want to hear, but he can see she's genuine and wants to give her what she's asking for, no matter how hard the story is for him to tell.
When you were born, your mom and I were mixed up with some really bad people. We wanted to turn our lives around, and when we learned we were pregnant, we changed our names, moved across the country, and started homeschooling you. We did everything we could to keep you safe, to protect you. But we could never live a normal life. It would never be a clean break.
Hayden pauses and shifts on the bench. It's clear he's uncomfortable, but this needs to be said. Mallory is still taking in everything he's telling her, carefully.
You don't remember anything from that day.
Mallory shakes her head seriously. She's curious and confused. She almost doesn't want to hear it, but she just has to know.
Mom was leaving for work. You and I were finishing breakfast. You ran out to tell her you loved her, but she didn't know you were behind her.
Mallory's face is betraying her as she goes through a wave of emotions. concern and confusion, then remembering bits and pieces and fear.
Rufus.
Yes. Rufus got out.
And I chased him.
Your mom was already in the car.
Hayden leaves that last sentence hanging. He doesn't want to go on. Mallory sits on this for a moment, trying to remember. She shifts uncomfortably, and it's clear some things are starting to come back to her.
She hit me. Mom hit me with the car.
I am so sorry. We tried everything we could. You were gone. You had no pulse. You here now. This is impossible.
I'm here, Dad. It's me. I'm real. And you left me for dead. And you reported me missing?
Mallory's getting angry now. She stands up and looks at Hayden expectantly. He can't bring himself to look back at her.
You don't understand. We couldn't do anything else. They would have killed us all.
So instead you just let your daughter die and hid like cowards.
Hayden stands and looks at Mallory, trying to get her to understand, pleading with her.
It was the only thing we thought we could do. Mallory, I am so sorry. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't regret it all. I tried to convince your mom to at least drop you off at a hospital, and then we could run. But she wouldn't have it. She believed doing that would lead them back to us.
Then tell them.
Hayden's taken aback for a second. He's not sure what she means.
Tell who what? We did something horrible. I can't.
Tell the police. What you just told me. Tell them this was Mom's idea. That you lied. That you thought she killed me and then left me for dead and then lied to the police to cover it up. Come with me. Now. To the station.
I can't do that.
You know, I thought you still might love me. Might still want to find me. But when I was a kid found wandering in the streets, I was told no one knew who I was. My name wasn't registered at any school, with any police stations, nothing. I was nobody. I finally remembered your name, not even mine, and tracked you down, and that triggered some memories. 10 years. And I finally had a name, my real name, Mallory. Some things came flooding back. I was happy I was a homeschool kid, no friends, but parents who were my whole world. And now I learned they killed me and covered it up, or so they thought.
I love you, Mallory. We have never stopped grieving your loss.
You're pathetic. You're a sorry excuse for a man, for a father.
Mallory turns and begins to walk away. Hayden rushes to her, grabbing her elbow and turning her back to face him. She rips her arm out of his grasp.
Wait.
Don't touch me.
I'm sorry.
Look, I'll give you a night to sleep on it. Meet me at the police station tomorrow morning, or I'll go alone. It doesn't matter to me anymore.
Sweetheart, don't put yourself through that. They aren't going to believe anything other than you ran away. That's what they told us for years before the case went cold.
If you would have just been honest, we wouldn't be in so much pain right now. You're a shit human being.
Mallory doesn't let Hayden respond before she quickly walks away. He's left there, alone, to sulk in his misery. Interior morning, couple's house. The sun is peeking through the curtains. Darcy rolls over in bed and puts her arm out. But when she does, no one is there. She opens her eyes and sees Hayden is not beside her. She sits up and calls out to him.
Hayden?
There's no answer. She checks the time and slides out of bed. Darcy takes her phone and walks out of the room, searching for her husband. Darcy makes her way into the living room and looks around. The house is still and silent. She's confused.
Hayden? Where the hell are you?
Darcy lifts her phone and begins to find Hayden's contact when the front door opens. Hayden lets himself inside, leaving the door open behind him.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey. You're awake.
Yeah. Did you go get us breakfast?
No. It's over.
What are you talking about?
It was Mallory. She called you the other night. She knows, Dee.
You are being ridiculous. There is no way.
Suddenly, a police officer enters, his hand on his weapon. Darcy is frozen in place, not comprehending what's happening. The officer walks to her, begins to cuff her. She comes to and she is stiff but does not put up a fight. She stares at Hayden, furious.
What did you do?
Darcy Mays, you're under arrest for attempted murder, withholding evidence, intent to conceal a crime, obstruction of justice.
Hayden is distraught but remains strong. Darcy continues to stare and says nothing. The officer begins to usher Darcy out the door as she speaks.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
The officer leads Darcy towards his vehicle. Hayden walks just outside the front door and stands there, watching. Mallory is standing to the side not far off. As he continues speaking, the officer and Darcy leave the frame.
You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you.
Mallory looks at Hayden as the officer and Darcy pass. We can still hear the officer as he finishes talking.
Do you understand the rights I've just read you?
There is no answer. Mallory turns her head towards Hayden and gives him a small, sad smile. Hayden's face betrays him. This decision was difficult, but he knows it was the right thing to do. He nods solemnly at Mallory. She walks to him and gives him a hug. Hayden embraces her tightly and closes his eyes. End.
That was Mallory by Liz Chiado. And actors, if you will kindly introduce yourself.
I'm Maddox Morphetai, and I'm playing Salem.
I'm Ariel Klein, and I'm playing Olivia.
Stand Tall, The Night, written by Michael Bliss. A thick forest drenched in dark red. We hear birds and the twang of a guitar string being tuned. We see a girl tune the guitar. Pluck. Another twang grows steadily higher until it has reached a satisfactory pitch. The girl's digits grow stiff. She's ready to play. She's sitting on the log. This is Olivia, a girl whose tireless exuberance and exaggerated sense of self-awareness make for an infatuating combo. She begins to play.
I felt this way. Oh no, I really shouldn't stay. I felt so strange. Will you talk to me again? But I really shouldn't stay. But I really shouldn't stay.
She looks up across the clearing, expecting something.
Look at you, not half bad.
Salem sits across from her, looking calm as one only gets when they're an intensely close friend.
You did kind of murder the E major chord the first time, though.
He joins her on the log, taking the guitar.
I'm gonna murder you.
Normally, an E major chord is fingered like this. However, since you have itty-witty-bitty tiny hands, try switching your index finger and your middle finger like this.
He demonstrates, then passes back the guitar.
The chord will sound a little off, but at least it won't sound like that.
Olivia is already absorbed in the fingering. Salem sits on the forest floor as Olivia strums aimlessly.
The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long.
And you have burned so very, very brightly. Blade Runner.
Damn it.
Did you think I wasn't gonna get that? What about this one? I've got compassion running out my nose, pal.
Albert Rosenfield, Twin Peaks.
Season 1 or Season 2?
Season 1, Laura's Autopsy.
Bingo.
The pair settle into a rhythm. They've done this before.
And should I be hugged and tugged down through this tiger's mask?
Cocteau Twins. Cherry-colored funk. I hear hurricanes a-blowin'.
Bad Moon Rising, CCR. There's a gap in the 20th century, and it fills the world with
We
dreams.
don't know drop 19s.
On the album cover, what's the shop in the background?
Olivia thinks for a second, until a devilish grin spreads across her face. She whips back around the Salem with a triumphant tone.
Sierra's Barbershop.
Salem hangs his head in defeat as Olivia celebrates.
I'm so good. I'm so good. Who's got me? Nobody got me. That's right. Nowhere else does esoteric music knowledge feel so rewarding.
Interior car, night. Salem speeds down the highway, speedometer pushing 60, 70, 80. His face is set in a dark gaze, determined, distantly angry at something, but he doesn't know what. At the driveway, Salem pulls in. He exits and crosses the front walkway, passing through the main door. ascends the stairs towards his room. Salem throws his door shut, flops onto his desk chair. If he could just stop time forever, it wouldn't be long enough. We reveal Olivia in full makeup and a gorgeous purple dress sitting on his bed. Beautiful, angelic. Tucked behind her ear is a faded purple iris flower.
You should have told me.
Salem doesn't lift his hand from his hands.
I know.
Then why didn't you?
Now he does, going right for her.
Because I was scared. I was terrified.
Scared of what?
I was scared of ruining it. I didn't even know what it was, but I knew I liked it. And I wanted more of it, and I didn't know if you did too. I wasn't going to risk throwing it all away.
Where's the joy in life if you don't take
I
risks?
hate that saying. I do take risks. Everybody does, but some things aren't worth risking.
He slows down a smidge, contemplating.
Do you remember when we were on the train back from Greensboro?
Was that the state fair?
Yeah, it was. Do you remember that you ate that second funnel cake even though I told you not to?
She smiles guiltily. She remembers. Interior train.
We got on the train and you were all sugared up, just talking and talking and talking, and I just listened because I love to hear you talk. Within 10 minutes, you had fallen asleep on my shoulder, and we still had an hour left on the train. I remember every part of that moment. The smell of your hair, the ice cream stain on my shirt, the way the light slowly grew and faded from your face. I was so tired, but I stayed up the whole time.
We return to the bedroom as Salem bores into Olivia's eyes.
That is the thing I'm not willing to risk.
Exterior church parking lot morning. Sunday Mass and the church bells ring as parishioners flock from across the lot to the doors, Salem and Olivia among them. Inside, Olivia kneels, deep in prayer with the rest of the congregation. Salem kneels alongside her, but silent. Gradually, the prayers coalesce into a chaotic jumble. Exterior pool, the afternoon. Olivia lounges about on a pool toy. Salem sits on the side.
It's a good thing humans are so close-minded.
What could that possibly mean?
I think I'd explode if I cared about everything going on. You know Mrs. Bailey, the chem teacher?
Mm-hmm.
She was my favorite teacher ever. I was going to ask her to speak at my graduation party, so I drove by her house a few days ago, and right out front there was this big white realtor sign that said sold. Do you know her mom had lymphoma? She's going back to Maine so she can be with her until the end.
It's too bad.
Yeah. I don't know. Once I learned that, it's like every memory I have with her is suddenly worth more. And not only that, there's this lingering feeling that I'll never be able to make memories as valuable as those again. It's not just her either, it's everything up to this point. Every summer camp, every sleepover, all of it. I don't know if it's just because I'm leaving in a few weeks or if it's something else, but it's this terrible brief feeling that I just can't seem to get rid of.
Even though you know that's not true?
Exactly, but that only makes it worse. Like, I know I shouldn't be feeling this way, but that's not enough to stop me from feeling it. I understand that things change and that's just how the world works, but I can't shake this feeling that everything is really just falling apart.
The overcast sky seems ready to burst. Interior bedroom, night. A warm smile passes Olivia's lips.
I want to show you something.
Exterior driveway, minutes later. Salem crosses from his garage into the car, starting it up. Just him in the front. He leaves the driveway. A forested road later. Salem's car is driving down the road. The forest melts away behind the headlights. Silence.
Turn left up here.
We're still in the back seat, not sure who is in the car.
Where are we going?
You'll see.
Now we see Olivia in the passenger seat alongside Salem, who obviously doesn't know what to say.
How does it feel? Now that you're able to speak freely about me?
I don't think I'll ever be able to speak freely about you.
What's stopping you?
I never had anything bad to say about you. I've never been able to describe you in words. I've always just felt you and how I am with you.
I planned a future for us, you know. We had a small house in the Pacific Northwest overlooking the forest. A couple kids.
Boy and a girl?
Boy and a girl.
Big wedding?
Funny you say that. Towards the end, I would have these dreams where I was at this beautiful wedding.
think it was somewhere in Oregon because there was a massive waterfall in the back. I was in the audience and you were getting married to someone else. Then someone would say something and everyone would turn to me and I'd look down and see that I was wearing a wedding dress too. I was so ashamed. I tried to run but my feet wouldn't move and everyone kept pointing and laughing. That's when I would wake up. Turn here.
Exterior parking lot. Moments later, the car pulls into a lot. Salem looks over at the passenger seat. Empty. He turns the car off, stepping out alone. He takes in the misty night air, looking around, and sees Olivia in a long white wedding dress in the middle of a field, forlorn but not yet forsaken. Slowly, she beckons to him. Exterior beach, dawn. Two figures stroll easily across the sand in the hazy sun.
That piece of driftwood kind of looks like a dick.
Where?
Right there.
And she shoves him into the surf, taking off down the beach in a fit of laughter. He gives chase, running her down after a few seconds and tackling her. They wrestle playfully for a bit until Salem gets the better of her and pins her arms to the sand.
Gotcha.
He smiles and runs off. Overhead as the pair regain their breath.
I hate cardio.
Fat ass.
Hey.
Olivia giggles. One perfect moment. Exterior beach, sunset. Salem sits in the sand under an umbrella. He looks out toward the surf where Olivia plays in the waves, throwing a football back and forth with several others. Olivia looks back at him with a beaming smile, which he gladly returns. She tosses the football away and leaves the water. She grabs a drink and joins him in the sand.
You know, generally when you're at the beach, you're supposed to go in the water.
How am I supposed to protect my milky complexion if I'm not under the umbrella?
Some people like their skin to be tan.
And some people like ketchup in their eggs.
Fair point.
The pair click cans. A slow calm settles over the scene.
How do you know when you love somebody?
Salem looks wistfully out toward the waves.
Is it when you can name each of their little idiosyncrasies?
Salem looks over at Olivia, who licks her finger before turning a page in her book.
Is it when your heart beats as fast as the day you met them, even though you've known them since kindergarten?
Salem sets his can down in the sand.
Is it when you're terrified of the future but euphoric that you get to spend it with them?
Salem turns to Olivia, gently taking her book from her. She looks up at him questioningly.
Lay your head back.
Olivia's eyes radiate a deep sense of trust, and she does so. He pulls her in tight as the sun bleeds a brilliant crimson.
I don't tell you this enough, but I'm very grateful to have you in my life.
Thank you for saying that.
The sun bleeds a brilliant red down the horizon.
Do you remember playing soccer at recess in first grade? How I tried to join the boys' game and none of them would let me?
He does.
I still have that picture of us holding the trophy we made in art class. Us against the world, right?
The pair share a smile, just between the two of them.
Us against the world.
Exterior field, night. Salem approaches Olivia. He stops about 20 feet away from her. The pair stare at each other until Olivia walks away. From inside the forest, an orange light blooms. Salem steps into the woods, making his way towards the light. He rounds a corner and finds the path adorned with hooded figures on either side. The two at the back bear white flags held across the path, concealing something. Salem tentatively begins through the figures. As he approaches the last two, one turns to him expectantly.
I'll carry this burden all my life, and I accept that.
The figure turns back, and the pair lift their flags in tandem to reveal Olivia in the wedding dress, except now it's ragged and torn, her eyes pure white, and there's an angelic impermanence to her now. Olivia slowly extends her hand, and as they walk away, tilting, we see as they move deeper into the forest. They arrive at a clearing, and Olivia points at a couple sitting on a park bench, Salem with another girl.
Who's that?
Her name is Claire.
Why am I with her?
You're in the same econ class.
But why am I with her?
Because you love her.
No, I don't. I can't.
Sure you can. You can't love two people the same way, but why should that mean you can't love them equally?
Salem disgustedly watches his future self smile and laugh.
He's forgotten all about you.
No, he hasn't.
How do you know?
Olivia turns to him with a smile.
Are you going to forget about me? Besides, it's natural. We suffer, we grieve, and we move on. It's always been that way. But moving on doesn't mean to forget. Obsession is suffering, but remembrance is honor.
Salem sits by himself in the moonlight.
I'll always be with you. And one day, that waterfall will be ours.
Exterior graveyard, morning. Salem sits next to a tombstone in the dewy grass.
In the end, there was no moment of realization, no sense of catharsis, nothing. She was here, and then she was gone, and the world was a lesser place for it.
Salem places something on the tombstone, then gets up and leaves.
In true Olivia fashion, she couldn't let me off the hook easy. She had left me with one last challenge. I could live for both of us, or for neither. There was no middle ground. There never was with her. She knew I would do anything for her, she just had never taken advantage of it before.
Salem turns towards the grave to reveal a bright purple iris.
I'll see you in Oregon, Olivia Brown.
Fade to black.
Stand Tall the Night, Michael Bliss.
Oh, I'll start. Hello again, I'm Michael Padgett. This time I'm playing Joe Cartwright.
I'm still Maddox Morphetai, and this time I'm playing Jason.
I'm Peter Bisguer playing Robert.
Dan Kern playing Daniel.
Nancy Boykin playing Aunt Lorraine.
And we begin Blood Knot, written by Michael Green. Exterior, Robert Clifton's house. Day. A lovely home, secluded from the neighbors and nestled into the tree line, basks in the warm sun. Manicured bushes surround the well-maintained porch.
We really want to highlight the growth of the company throughout the entire fiscal year.
Interior, office. Robert Clifton, 58, is sitting in his home office and is speaking to a co-worker, Joe Cartwright, 40, through teens. Robert's home is clean, neatly arranged, sunny, and bright.
I'll include the graphs we made for the marketing presentation.
Yeah, those would be perfect, and I want to be sure that we include the fact sheet that Martin created.
Sure, we can do that.
Daniel Clifton, 87, shuffles speedily past the open office door. He wears pajama bottoms and a loose-fitting undershirt. His hair is matted as though he just got out of bed. Robert turns around and sees him walk past.
Dad? Dad, are you okay?
Robert shakes his head but doesn't seem surprised that there wasn't a response from the elderly man.
Joe, I need to take care of something. Ping me later and let me know how you've made out with all this.
Absolutely, I'm on it. Talk to you soon, Robert.
See you later.
Robert clicks the end meeting button on the screen and walks out to find his father. Interior hallway. Robert, appearing very concerned, looks for Daniel, but he's nowhere in sight. Robert makes his way down the hall.
Dad?
Robert enters the dining room and sees his father standing near the table. He's unsteady and clearly confused. Robert hurries to his father's side to steady him.
What are you doing out of bed? You shouldn't be walking around. You could fall down.
Robert puts his hands on Daniel's shoulders to help steer him back towards the bedroom.
What do you want? Are you thirsty?
Clearly, Daniel is not well. He's disoriented.
I want to go fishing, but I can't find my fishing rods. I think your mother moved them again.
Dad, those things are back at your house. You're in my house. I don't have any of your fishing rods here.
Daniel stumbles a bit, and for safety, Robert guides him into a dining chair at the end of the table.
Whoa, sit down before you fall down.
Daniel plops down into the chair at the end of the table, and Robert sits down in the chair beside him.
Are you okay?
Margaret? Where's my fishing rod? The one your father gave me for Christmas.
Dad, Mom isn't here.
Where is she?
A sad expression washes over Robert's face as he reaches out and pats his father's hand.
Mom passed away 15 years ago, Dad.
Daniel takes the news well, as though he didn't really comprehend the finality of the comment.
Did she say when she was coming back?
Robert relents and smiles softly at his ill father.
No, she didn't. Soon, I think. Come on, let's get you back to bed.
Daniel stops Robert from helping him.
No, I want to hold a fishing rod, and I can't find mine.
You really shouldn't be up, Dad. We need...
Just for a moment.
Robert thinks about it for a second. Daniel looks around the room as though he can't remember where he is. He tries to focus on the strange surroundings. Robert nods.
Okay, if I get you a fishing rod, you'll go back to bed?
Robert gets up and points at his father.
Do not get up. Stay right here.
Daniel continues to look around the room and moans softly. Was that an agreement? Or more of a question? Unknown. Robert exits the dining room. Robert enters his son's bedroom and looks around. The room is well kept, rarely used anymore, and reflects the life of a child long since grown and gone away. In the corner are a few fishing rods. Robert randomly grabs one and hastily makes his way back to the dining room. Robert enters the dining room with the rod in hand. He's relieved to see that Daniel is still at the table. Robert realizes that a lure with a hook is still attached to the rod and is ready to use. He stops at a side table to retrieve a pair of scissors before going to the dining table. Robert cuts the line in half and removes the lure. Robert sits down and shows Daniel the rod. He places the scissors on the table, out of reach.
Here you go. It's Jason's. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if you took a look at it.
Daniel's shaky hands slowly take the rod. His old eyes examine the entire length of it and the reel. His fingers trace the rod. He pauses over each line guide. Daniel seems satisfied with the quality of the rod.
My grandson had a rod like this.
Yes, he does.
Used to take him fishing when he was a boy. You have any children?
Yeah, I have a son. Your grandson. His name is Jason.
Daniel seems confused by that statement. He pauses for a moment to try and figure it out, but it's too much. Daniel's fingers find the broken line.
Yeah, the line snapped.
Robert smiles as he holds up the other end of the line. The lure dangles from it like a hypnotist's watch.
Yeah, I guess we have to call it a day, huh, Dad?
Daniel reaches for the lure, but Robert pulls it away.
I don't think that's a good idea, Dad. You shouldn't be handling any hooks.
Why?
Daniel persists, and reluctant Robert finally relents. Daniel takes the lure and sees the cut line.
See, the line snapped. Time to get back in bed.
Daniel examines it.
It's broken.
Yeah, can't be fixed. Let's go back to bed.
Daniel puts the lure on the table and begins to thread the fishing line through the guides of the rod. His hands tremble, but the muscle memory is there. He remembers. Robert watches him.
You always loved fishing.
Yeah, I took my son fishing sometimes when he was little. His name was Robert. I always called him Bobby, but when he got older, he made me stop. Said he didn't sound mature enough.
Robert's eyes water. He listens to his father's speckled memory with interest and sadness.
We had a falling out. Several, actually. Seems like we had more falling outs than fishing trips.
Robert doesn't know what to say. He just listens and nods. Daniel continues to thread the line through the guides.
We used to go to this place on the lake. It was our spot. Nobody else knew about it.
The edge of the lake by the grove.
Daniel nods. He reaches out and picks up the broken end of the line. Robert watches, careful to be sure his father doesn't injure himself.
When he stopped fishing with me, I never went back there. It didn't seem right without him. You know how to tie a blood knot?
You taught me a long time ago, but I forgot.
You know what it's for?
I think you use it to tie a lure onto the line?
My grandson would know. He was really great at tying them. Only took him a few lessons before he mastered it.
Daniel holds up both ends of the broken line.
Yeah, blood knot is what a fisherman uses to tie two pieces of line together like these.
Daniel's shaky fingers start to tie the knot.
Yeah, I learned a long time ago that everything breaks. Cars, refrigerators, fishing rods, shoelaces, even marriages, and relationships with your children.
Robert listens as he watches his father tie the knot.
You know, some of those things aren't worth fixing. Some are. Which ones depends on the person. Depends upon what they want fixed and what they don't.
Daniel twists the lines and slowly threads the end of a line through the other.
Yeah, there's a way to fix everything. There's a way to make everything better. And when you're a fisherman, you use a blood knot. Same in life. blood knot.
Daniel shows off the knot. It's very well done, and he has joined the two lines together once more. Repaired.
You did a good job on that. You haven't lost your touch.
Robert uses the scissors and cuts the loose ends off so that the line is nice and perfect once more. Daniel looks at the fishing rod. The line is repaired, and it is once again ready to cast. Daniel examines it, and Robert watches closely.
I should have told Bobby that I loved him more often than I did. I think he knew. But I should have told him more.
Robert can hardly contain his tears. It's very difficult to see his father this way.
Yeah, I pushed him too much. Made him resent me, I think. I thought I was doing the right thing for him, but I think it forced him away from me. I loved him, though.
I love you too, Dad.
Daniel turns to look at Robert, and they smile at one another. Daniel looks at the rod. He places the lure gently in the hook keeper by the handle to keep it safe.
Yeah, this is a good fishing rod. Yeah, my grandson had one just like it.
Come on, Dad, back to bed.
Robert helps his father up from the table. Interior Daniel's bedroom later that day. Daniel is lying in his bed, eyes closed. Robert enters holding a tray with soup, crackers, and orange juice.
Dad, wake up. It's time for lunch.
Robert puts the tray beside the bed and opens a shade.
It's your favorite, tomato soup.
Daniel doesn't budge.
Dad?
Robert walks over to his father and touches his forehead.
Dad.
Robert gently tries to wake his father. Daniel is dead. Robert sits down beside the bed and lowers his head. Interior, Robert's living room. Robert's dressed in a black suit and tie and is sitting in a chair, his hand on his chin, his eyes blank. Jason, 24, is wearing a black suit and is showing a few guests to the front door. Uncle Paul, 74, and Aunt Lorraine, 65. They are dressed in black as well.
It was a lovely service, Jason.
Thank you for coming, Aunt Lorraine.
If you or your father need anything, just call. We don't live far.
We'll be fine, Uncle Paul.
When are you going back to school?
I Sunday afternoon. Finals are coming up, and I just have a lot to do.
Well, you go to it, young man. Get those grades.
Your mother would be very proud of you, Jason.
Aunt Lorraine hugs Jason. Aunt Lorraine and Uncle Paul exit the home. Jason closes the door, and silence fills the void. Jason loosens his tie. He walks down the hallway and takes his jacket off. He stops at the doorway to the living room and looks in. Robert is sitting in the chair, alone and lost in thought.
Dad? You okay?
Robert is quiet. He nods. There's an uncomfortable silence between the two.
I'll be upstairs if you need anything.
Jason starts to walk away, and Robert suddenly shakes off the fog, looks over at Jason, and calls out to stop him.
Jason,
Yeah?
I was wondering if you wanted to go fishing with me.
Jason doesn't respond. He stands still and expressionless.
I know a spot by the lake near a grove of trees. Haven't been there in a long time. I'm not really sure if it's still there, but it's a great spot to fish.
Jason stands silently in the doorway. Robert takes a breath and lets out a sigh.
But you've probably got some things to do before you head back to campus. Maybe some other time would be better.
Jason stands silently in the doorway as Robert goes back to pondering his thoughts, alone in the chair.
That's a dumb idea. I don't have a fishing rod anyway.
I have an extra rod you can use.
Robert's surprised and looks over at Jason. Exterior, a path in the woods. Daytime. Robert and Jason are walking along the path. They each carry a fishing rod, and Jason carries a tackle bag. The two walk through the forest in silence. The only sound is the twigs as they snap under their feet. It feels like an eternity, but in a good way. Solitude. Robert looks up and sees the sun shining through the treetops. He breathes in the fresh air. He smiles.
Your grandfather was talking about you the other day.
Yeah? What about?
Fishing.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
He was very proud of you. He was telling me when you were little how he would teach you to tie a blood knot, and you got it in just a few tries.
Yeah, that's true. He taught me how to tie a lot of different knots.
Do you remember them?
Every 1.
Robert looks down at the path.
He tried to teach me how to tie knots when I was a kid. I didn't have much interest in it.
Jason shrugs his shoulders.
Fishing isn't for everyone, Dad.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that I didn't want to fish. Just didn't want to disappoint him, to try and fail.
What do you mean?
My father didn't treat me the way he treated you. He treated you with patience and kindness, compassion.
Robert ducks under a branch.
He was more stern and direct with me. He expected me to be strong and self-reliant from the start, capable of doing everything on my own.
Jason listens closely to his father.
He didn't have the patience with me, and he wasn't very compassionate. If I didn't learn it right away, we'd argue and fight, so I stopped trying to please him. I stopped learning to fish, even though I wanted to go fishing with him every time he went.
Jason ducks under a branch and catches the sad look in his father's eyes.
And I grew up to be exactly the sort of person that he raised me to be. Self-reliant, determined, but impatient and unwilling to try to work out differences, unbending.
In the woods, Robert stops walking and Jason turns to face him. It's the perfect location for a touching father-son moment.
And I realized I raised my son the same way. But I was wrong to do it. Should have tempered self-reliance with compassion. Taught you patience instead of requiring quick memorization of facts and figures, or there would be repercussions.
Robert looks down at the leafy ground.
I taught you to be the man my father wanted me to be. I put my shortcomings on you, and I was wrong to do it. Sorry I wasn't more of a patient father, Jason. I'm sorry that I pushed you so hard all the time. Wish I spent more time laughing with you and fishing. Picking you up, letting you sit on my lap, just pushing you on the swing set. Time just got away from me. Now you're grown and it's too late for all that.
It's okay, Dad. I could have been a better listener, to be honest. And you pushing me wasn't really a bad thing. I'm at one of the best med schools in the country. That doesn't happen by accident.
Your grandfather told me just before he died that there's always a way to fix things. Always a way to make them better if you want them to be. I'd like to fix things between us. Close the distance we have between us.
Okay. How would you like to do that?
How about you start with teaching me how to fish?
I'd like that. Anything in particular you want to know?
Eventually, everything your grandfather taught you and the things you've learned on your own. But for now, I'd like to learn how to tie a blood knot and spend time with my son.
Okay. We can do that, Dad.
The two start walking again. Jason and Robert walk down the path in the woods together.
You know, after my finals, I'll have some time. I could come back and maybe we could fish some more if you wanted.
I'd like that a lot.
The two continue to walk along the path.
I love you, Jason.
I love you too, Dad.
Fade out. End.
Blood Knot by Michael Green. We can have our other actors come down and join us at the front of the theater stage. That concludes our table read this evening, and we need to really thank the cast for all of the work they've done. It's been a little rock and roll, but as good thespians, they pulled it off. So let's give them a great hand of appreciation.